Screaming Chewy Show, your source of entertainment and overall fuckery. Yeah! Hey, you ever wondered why we're here? What's the purpose of our existence, right? Most people go their whole lives trying to find those answers because our brains always wants to know everything, right? We want to know an explanation for every single thing that happens. But you can't explain everything, right? Some people find those answers right away. They find religion, and that's great, you know, whatever helps you find those answers. But some people don't. Some people just accept things for what they are, right? Maybe the powers that be is the universe, you know? But we cannot deny that there are some forces out there, powers that be, and there's so many coincidences that you cannot deny. That's one thing I think we could all agree on, right? No matter what you believe in. But anywho, today, me and special guest Rodericke Edwards will discuss his book. Yes, The Universe of Religion and None. Deep stuff. And we'll be discussing different religions and just trying to make sense of everything, right? Some opinions there about religions and government. And of course, discussing his book. Amazing read, by the way. You can find it on Amazon. Go check it out. But on with the show. Hey, you got this great idea for a podcast? You think it'll do very well? Maybe you're right. But you have no idea how to start it, right? Maybe you don't have access to a computer, maybe programs. It could be pretty complicated, right? Well, guess what? You don't have to. All you have to do is just go to anchor.fm/start. That's it. Or get the app. It'll do everything for you. You have all the tools. And guess what? It's free. Yeah, that's right. It's free. And you get paid for it. Boom. That's what I'm doing right now. Yeah. So go to anchor.fm/start. And boom, you're welcome. So I look forward to hearing your podcast. Please jump on in and join me in this vast community of podcasters. Great. Thanks. Hey everyone, welcome to the Screaming Chewy Show. This is your host Chewy, and I got a special guest tonight, Rodericke Edwards. And hey man, go ahead and tell us about yourself. Tell us about your book.
Perfect. Hey, first of all, I need to ask, do I need to scream the whole time, or is that just the name of the show?
If you want, bro. Fucking what's his name? The conspiracy guy in the podcast.
Al Kinnison, or what his name is? Kinnison, always screamed all the time.
Yeah, the government.
Yeah. So the book is called The Universe of Every Religion and None, and I wrote it. Somebody's looking at me. I got people here looking at me. Hey. Anyhow, so it's called The Universe, Every Religion and None, and it's about really coincidences, how we think coincidences happen. And I thought I felt that before. This is weird how this always happens, and we always kind of dismiss it, but I'm trying to tie it together that this is really the universe acting in humans' lives. Mm-hmm. That's really what it's about. It's not that deep. It's really only 100 pages. I think you got to read it, didn't you? Most of it?
Yeah, man, and honestly it blew me away because that's a very interesting topic right there, because I myself, when I was younger, I was always like atheist, right? I'm like, there's no God. It's all in your head, right? The human mind is always trying to make sense of everything, and you make your own kind of excuses of, the coincidences, like you were saying, right?
Right.
But then, a few years back, like I was gonna die. Like I was dying. Like some shit happened to me, and the doctor was like, I don't know how you're still conscious talking to me right now. My oxygen was like in the 60s. CO2 level was like 93%. But my mom, Catholic, she prayed and bam, I got better from there. And I was like, okay, maybe there is a God. Maybe that prayer worked. But
Right, maybe
like
there's to do it.
because that's
Go ahead.
one hell of a coincidence. But
Yeah.
like, I'm not very religious myself because religion's always been tied to the government. It's, control and this and that, right? Just like you explained in your book, the universe doesn't compete with other religions. The universe doesn't, you don't have to pray for it. You don't have to follow rules. It's just, it is what it is, right?
It is what it is. It almost doesn't even care about you. I mean, if you don't acknowledge it, it keeps on going.
Exactly. And I found that very deep. Like, I could relate to that because that's exactly what it is.
Right.
And you were mentioning how that's the realest thing you could believe in. And I was like, wow.
Right, where almost
Amazing.
every other religion, they want you to, okay, well, you got to do this ceremony, you got to pay respect to this person, you got to do this and this. Because the religion or the universe doesn't care about any of that stuff. But if you do connect to it, you're going to be amazed by it. Like you said, you'll be blown away once you do connect to it and say, oh, wait a minute, you have all these coincidences and all these things that happen. They're not really coincidences. They're something trying to communicate to us. And I don't even want to call the universe a God. I think that's too limiting. So.
Yeah, because we're always trying to, our mind, like you find a Jesus Christ in a tortilla, or every cloud has a shape. Like, this is a bunny, this is a horse. Your mind is always giving everything characteristics, even though it doesn't have any. And
right.
That might has something to do with God. Like all these coincidences and signs where like it has to be somebody. Like, like. I don't know, we give God like human characteristics, it seems like, like he has emotions and, well,
yeah, well, if we're human beings, obviously human beings say, well, what would God look like? Well, he looks like us. Otherwise, how would we understand him? When I talk about the universe, I make it so vague that when people first read it, they're first like, what is he talking about? Is this the God? Actually, as you see in the book, I'm not talking about a God. I'm talking about something, but I can't even define it. So I purposely don't define it. However, as human beings, we all know there's something. We all feel like there's something. We just don't know what it is. And so, like you said, you have all these different religions, Christianity, Muslims, all these different religions, Mormons, and they all create this God and make him look like him and talk like you and everything else. So.
And then, these high-ranking people in the church or government, they tweak their Bible or whatever to like, for us to obey them, It's like, hey, if you don't listen to your government, God's not going to be happy, or stuff like
right.
that. I kind of don't trust it,
Yeah, and then you even get into further, I mean, I'm not trying to pick on any specific religion, but you have all these Muslim countries where basically if you choose any religion besides Islam, they'll kill you.
Yes, right there in the street. They'll chop your head off. Yeah, I seen the videos, man. They had people lined up, and there was this one guy with a huge sword. I'm sorry, I'm getting a little graphic here, but yeah, they had people lined up.
Show.
Right? Gotta keep it real, yo. But yeah, they had these people lined up, and they were like, throw them on their knees, put their head down. This guy chops his head off, whack. Drag him off, get the next guy. It's like, what the fuck, right in the middle of the street?
So, I mean, there's lots of places that are still very barbaric. We sit there and we talk. I mean, I'm trying to avoid saying, hey, this Rodericke guy, he's pro-Christian. I'm not really pro-Christian, but I think Christianity, at least in the Western world, has allowed us to at least get to the point where you can say, hey, I don't, F God, oh, fuck God, who cares? too. But those other countries, you even draw a cartoon of Muhammad and you're dead. So we're getting along as we go, but we're still not quite to that point where we can understand the universe. I think this book could be a dangerous application. Just imagine a Muslim reading this book in Iran or something. What would happen?
Oh man, your book would be so illegal, because what you're doing is you're opening people's minds, their perspectives, right? Because we're all like indoctrinated, right? We're all, they slam this religion on you, whoever your family is, if they're religious. But you grow up believing all of that is true, right? But what if somebody told you, hey, maybe it's not? That could be dangerous to that religion,
Right. And so then somebody might ask, well, then without religion, how do we have morals? Like, what keeps Chewy from going out and just busting somebody in the mouth every day? What keeps you from doing it? If you're not religious, what keeps you from doing that? The law?
Sense.
You're afraid to go to jail? What?
And I think in your book, you had a very good point about how religions, they kind of have you like treat others how you would like to be treated, right?
Right.
But that's a very good question, though, how you were saying, what keeps me from, like busting people's heads every day? And like, honestly, it's like, because I hate to use the word normal because that varies from country to country, right?
Right.
I mean, there's some wild shit out there that we're like, what the fuck? Why are they doing that? But it's normal, right? Like in Africa, you grow up with a dog, and to become a man, you gotta kill it and eat it. It's like that's fucked up here, but it's normal over there.
Or some of these really aborigines that are cannibals that are eating each other. That to them, it's moralistic. That's their morals.
And their beliefs
are the same everywhere. The morals aren't the same everywhere.
And that comes to question, like, I don't know if there was a God, like, he's got to be allowing that, obviously, right? Because he has the power to not let it happen.
Right. Unless he has, again, we're applying it that there is a God. But if there is a God, maybe he has a plan for everything that happens, even the bad things, even when people get raped or children get murdered or anything like that. There's a plan in all that. Now, as human beings, we definitely can't wrap around there. We're like, that's awful. But if, let's say you found somebody who got murdered, a little young 2-year-old murdered, just a drive-by shooting, boom, boom, they're dead. Like, well, that was senseless. But if you could see the entire plan where the family came to the funeral and Uncle Bob or whatever didn't interact with anybody, but now he is because he came to the funeral, and it just brings the whole family back together again. You're thinking, well, is that worth it? Would that be worth killing the 2-year-old like that?
A sacrifice.
The entire spectrum of what's going on here.
Yeah, that's very true, actually. Or, people have died, like you said, and then like the whole community comes together, like you were saying, it's like a trade-off, right?
Right. Like in the book, though, I'm talking about, again, the universe, so I don't get so detailed because I don't know. I mean, obviously, we see coincidences in our life every day where we keep seeing the same numbers over again, or the same colors, or the same phrases that somebody might use to us, or, hey, how would this person know this? And you're like, wow, that's just freaky. So that's kind of what I'm trying to say. And that's what I'm trying to look at. That goes on. People can't deny that. I don't care what religion you are, or non-religion you are, or Muslim or Christian. Coincidences happen in our lives every day. And so that's what I'm trying to touch in the book.
You're very right. Like sometimes, like I don't consider myself psychic, but I have a lot of little psychic moments. I've had them all my life. Like I'll call somebody and they'll answer right away, and they're like, "Oh my God!" I'm like, "What?" I had my phone in my hand. I was literally about to call you, and that happens quite often,
Yeah.
Or I'll call somebody. I'm like, "Hey, you want to go eat? Let's go eat some pizza." And they're like, "Dude, I was craving pizza right now." Like, what the fuck?
And you start looking to see if your phone's tapped or something. The hell?
Right. Facebook is listening.
I think it does. Sometimes I'll talk and then all of a sudden here's hey, you want pizza? Like, what?
Yeah, you're right.
That. So.
Yep, they are listening. I've had conversation with coworkers like, hey man, we should go to Lindy's after work. And then I get a Lindy's ad on Facebook.
Mm-hmm.
Like,
and all that. You got one of those Alexa things or Google thing in your house or anything?
No, but my phone, has that Bixby or whatever. It's pretty much the same.
Yeah. So I wonder about all that. So this book is just, obviously it's only 100 pages. I have written a couple other books. One, it's about a religious group. It's a religious group that believes Jesus already came back. It's called About Preterism. That's the name of the group. So I write about that. And then I wrote another book, which I'm still working on promoting. It's How to Overthrow the Government.
Nice.
Yeah, so we want to get into these eventually. And then I do want to write another book. Yeah, I want to write another book that talks about expands upon the universe here because I'm beginning to see more and more things. My background for this, because people, well, what's this guy? He just writes books. Who the hell is he? So I'm a 51-year-old dude, and I was adopted at age 4. So I didn't have a beginning, and people who aren't adopted can't understand this, but it's basically you don't exist. As an adopted kid, even somebody adopts you and they treat you nicely, you really don't exist because you have no beginning. You always wonder where you come from. And you live through your life, the whole life like that. And then you just make up who you really are. And so when I turned 50, about 50 years old, I finally, the courts in the state where I'm from allowed us to get our birth certificates. And I got my birth certificate and found out, my mom was already deceased and my dad was already deceased. Like, damn, I'm still not going to find out who I am. But I found a bunch of siblings, and this is what sparked me, that because lots of things came together. For example, this coincidence is the biggest one. I was adopted in 1972 on November 2nd, and I got my birth certificate, my original birth certificate, on November 2nd of 2018, on the exact same date. It was weird.
Wow, what the hell?
So this launches the whole thing, yes. And then my sister thinks just like me, one of my 100% sister, and we basically, about this universe stuff, we think the same thing. But before I get to that, I was very religious from probably age 30 to 45. I was really, really staunch Christian, read the Bible. I could probably quote you all kinds of Bible stuff, blah, blah, blah. Read the Quran 5 times. I can tell you the surahs and the hadith and all, and Hindu stuff. So this is my so-called qualifications for this.
You know your stuff, there's no doubt about that.
I'm not trying to brag, but I do. I looked, I was like, who the hell am I? And if there's a God, why am I here this way? And so now I begin to see, but this was all part of the plan for me to understand how this all comes together. As the reason I got adopted, the reason I found them when I did, the reason I hear basically close to the end of my life, because technically I have 20, 30 years left. And so I'm writing these books like mad, trying to get this stuff out here to understand. And I'm not dictating. I hate when people lecture me like, this is how this works and how that works. As you read the book, I'm not doing that at all, right?
No. You're just letting it out there, and they choose to believe what they want to believe. You're not telling them you should believe this or that.
Right. Because I'm definitely not trying to start a cult. I don't think I have enough money to fly to Africa. I don't have enough to give to anybody. So
some Jim Jones, past the Kool-Aid.
Jim Jones, Charles Manson. I don't have any upside down crosses carved in my forehead or anything like that. I was a data analyst. I was a really boring guy before. I just looked at spreadsheets all my time. I didn't get into any of this stuff.
So how did you feel going from Christianity to where you at now? Like, did you have some sense of freedom or?
I was kind of scared, but not for myself. I was scared for the people that I had interacted with and built this entire, structure for them. Here's what God says. Here's what He wants us to do, and people, my family members and friends and everything else. They, as I told them about this, they trusted me and followed me. And now I'm telling them, I think that's all bogus. Mm-hmm. So it's like, what am I going to do through their life? If I tell somebody that it's all bogus, what's their structure? Like we talked about morals. They built their whole structure around this. And I'm bogus. Sort of like the guy who, I don't know if you know much about Mormons, but a lot of times Mormons, young Mormons, they're only Mormons because their daddy was Mormon and their grandpa was Mormon, and on and on and on. You really don't, most people don't convert to Mormonism. They're born into it.
Oh, really?
Yeah. I mean, there's some, but most of the time you're born into it now.
That makes sense.
That is, what if somebody tells a young kid, hey, your whole life, your whole lineage is bogus. Even if you believed it, how could you disconnect yourself from that?
Right?
Almost impossible.
How are you going to drop everything because somebody told you? But I think the thing is to always question it, right? Question everything. And I've always done that. Even as a kid, my parents are old school Mexican Catholic, and they tried raising me that way. But I would ask them questions they could never answer, right? Like I'd be like, okay, well, what about the people that live in other countries and they've never heard of Jesus Christ? Are they going to hell because they don't believe in Him? And they're like, well, I don't know, son. And I'm like, well, that's not good enough. Yeah, that's true, huh?
The Bible actually addresses that basically. It says that they'll be judged by their own morals and their own understanding of God, basically. Now, here's a problem with that. That's fine. You know, let's say you got this deep, dark African tribe that's never heard, and they're not even contact with any other civilization, but they have their own structure, and they maybe believe some wood god is their god. According to the Bible, they'll be judged by that. Here's the problem now. Now imagine a Christian missionary goes there, travels through the jungle, chops down all the vines, and get there and you need Jesus. And now what have they done? Because now those people, if they reject Jesus, they're all going to hell, right?
Yep.
Just left. It'd been better if he just left them alone, because then they all would have went to heaven based on their own morals. But now he just condemned them.
And people are going out there and doing that. Some people feel like it's their mission to spread the word of Jesus, and they're doing exactly that.
Mm-hmm. Well, he does. I mean, the Bible does tell them to do that, but I'm stuck between that conflict, because yes, the Bible says go out and tell all the people about Jesus, but when you do that, you're basically condemning them, because say before you told them about Jesus.
Or how people, say about the Middle East, how they are. But I'm like, well, that sounds like the Old Testament to me, right?
Yeah, it basically is. Cut off the hand if you steal,
if they're gay or non-believers, kill them, die by the sword.
Mm-hmm.
And, so Christianity actually, it got popularity by bloodshed. You know what I mean? A lot of times it was the king that believed it, and he says, okay, everybody in my kingdom, we're Christians now. If you don't believe it, you're gonna die. That's it.
Right. That's how definitely in Europe it began. That's where it got its power. Obviously, Jesus himself, I've had this discussion with other people. I'm not trying to promote Jesus, but it's interesting. Jesus or Buddha, from the Buddhism, or there's another religion called the Sikhs. I don't know if you're familiar with the Sikhs.
I've never heard of that.
Sikhs, they're usually the guys, they get confused for Muslims, but they're not. Usually the guy that's at the village pantry with the turban on his head, he's probably not Muslim. He's Sikh, which is a form of Hinduism. It's a religion that's, I think, the late 14 or 1500s. That's how new it is. So anyhow, their leader was this guy named Guru Nanak. Basically. So my point is that Jesus, this Guru Nanak, and Buddha, none of these three guys had ever killed anybody themselves, nor had they told their followers to kill anybody. But the problem is Muhammad actually did kill people and told his followers.
Another Manson.
Yeah. So if you're just imitating your religious leader, you're not doing anything else. You're not even reading his books. You're just going, I want to imitate my religious leader. If you imitate Jesus, what are you going to be? Just some nice guy going around going, love everybody, love everybody. If you imitate
hippie,
you'll probably be some fat guy sitting around just sleeping all the time under a tree or something. And the Guru Nanak, you're going to be turban wearing and saying, you don't understand that. You have called tech support. Would you need tech support? Or
thank you. Come again.
Yes, come again. But if you're a Muslim and all you're doing is just imitating Muhammad, you're not even reading the Quran, you don't know any damn thing about it, but you're just saying, I just want to be like Muhammad. He's a cool dude. Then you're probably going to kill people, because that's exactly what he did. So I find that interesting when we talk about religions in general. They get pissed off when I tell them that, and then they're, well, he was a good guy, but he killed people. Well, he had to.
Right?
Kill people.
Then be like, well, by that logic, then Manson was a good guy, right?
Yeah, that's why I say Manson was a good guy, and David Koresh was a good guy that burned up all those kids, or had them burn up in his compound there in Waco, Texas.
Oh yeah, like 75 children.
Yeah. Now it was the government that did it, but he precipitated it by not letting them out.
Mm-hmm.
He said, "Hey, get out, okay? Come on, I'll shoot you all up," but not letting them out. So
they're getting a shootout with the federal government. That ended up nicely, right? And also, like, about religion, like my sister's gay, right? She's a lesbian. And like my parents being Catholic, I'm like, so is my sister going to hell? Because I've always, in the church, in the Bible, it says that if you're gay, you go to hell, right? But my friend, he's real Christian, and he told me that you have to accept Jesus, and then he'll forgive you. So it's like, okay, you turn straight, and then you go to heaven. Like, how does that work?
Yeah, I don't. The Bible's clear about homosexuality, though. I think it's I'm trying to think. First Timothy something. Very clear that it doesn't necessarily go and say you're going to hell, but it definitely says it's a sin. So I mean, if you're following the Bible, I'm not saying follow the Bible. Or it's clear that it is a sin. You can't say, well, it's not a sin. Oh, here it is.
Yeah.
It says, let me go. First Timothy 1:9-12. It says, it's a new international version. We also know that the law is made not for the righteous, but for the lawbreakers and the rebels, which is interesting in itself because law is not for people who already know how to maintain their own self. Law is for people who are rebels. Now it goes on, so godly and the sinful and the ungodly and irreligious, for those who kill their fathers and mothers, for murderers, for the sexually immoral, for those practicing homosexuality, right there in the Bible, for slave traders and liars and perjurers, and for whatever else is contrary to the sound doctrine. But the problem is that I think we've all lied. So unless you can claim you haven't lied, you're just as bad as a homosexual.
And a murderer.
You, right?
Mm-hmm.
So that's some of the stuff when I was leaving Christianity I had to grapple with. It's like, wait a minute. Yes, it does say that if you're going to be a Christian, this is what you got to believe. You can't just make it up as you go. But at the same time, how's that all fit in? Because again, everybody's a liar. I haven't met one person that has never lied in their life. I don't care.
Mm-hmm.
Even your nice little granny, she's lied somewhere in her life. You know she has.
Little or big.
Yeah, what size are you? You ask her what size. I'm just a 42. No, you're not. You're lying.
or does this dress make me look fat? Oh, no.
Yeah. Lie. Well, that's a little white lie. I didn't see. Did you see anything in there that says white lies are different than any other kind of lie? No.
Yo, a lie is a lie. I agree with you.
Right. And so I'm not necessarily saying that the Bible or the Quran is bad, because obviously religion, as you've seen in the book you read it, gives structure to societies. That's how they function. But imagine uncouple yourself from that and just understand as a human being that there might be more than what you're being told by some group of people. You know?
To think for yourself.
Yeah, whether it's religion or government or whatever, even your own family. I'm not saying rebellion. You know, families say what they have to say, especially if they have secrets. You know, hey, let's don't tell them about Uncle Bob over here. He's a mass murderer. You know, they're going to hide that from you, obviously.
Yeah, or like, you know, family members are child molesters or rapists, and they like defend them because no, don't mention that at church. You know, like don't tell nobody. But this is I find this very interesting. I mean, and like you were saying, the universe, you know, sometimes things just happen and that's just how it is. And we just got to learn to accept it, you know?
Mm-hmm. In the book, I said, what if the universe has you as a secondary actor? You know, like the actor that never gets the lead role. You always see them kind of in the background. They get through 2 or 3 lines. That's it. What if the universe wanted you as that role? Could you live with that? Could you live with being the secondary actor always your life? Because as an adopted person, that's how I felt. I felt like, well, everybody else is living their life, and I'm just kind of observer here because I really don't have an origin. I don't know where I came from. I just make it up as I go.
And
so
you know,
imagine if you could do that.
And then, yeah, that's crazy. I never thought of it that way with no origins. Like, wow,
None.
That would drive me crazy.
It would drive you crazy. I mean, you don't even know your heritage. So, for example, one of the first reasons I took a DNA test a while back, this is just for fun, really. I wasn't even thinking about finding any adopted people. I have these enormous fat lips. Probably you can hear them over the audio, but hit my laughing as I'm talking. But I'm white. So I'm like, where the hell do these lips come from? So I took a DNA test and I figured I'm gonna have some African in me, no doubt. Didn't have any into it. Not one drop of African. What it is Vikings also have fat lips. I didn't know this until I started studying it. Viking.
Oh shit.
So I'm almost like 100% Viking.
That's badass.
Germany. He came over here in like the 50s, right after Hitler took over, and he was a German Viking. And then we had my mom's side was English or Norwegian Viking. So anyhow, I found out that's the thing that I took that in the first place because I was trying to check out my heritage. Where in the hell do I come from? But I mean, you obviously know you're Hispanic, right? You say you're Mexican, so you know that.
Yep.
You want to get on the side topic?
Yeah.
Okay. So don't get mad at me. You gonna start screaming at me, a screaming Chewy?
Nope.
All right.
I don't
so
get offended easily, bro.
All right. This is the side. It's something I wonder. Not necessarily true. So, right now in my culture in general, America, you have all these people, Latino this, Latino that, Latino, and it's all my Latino. Here's the irony in all that, especially if you're a Latino from anywhere from America or Mexico, Central America, or South America. Now, you do realize that the only reason you're Latino is some Spaniard came in here, conquistador, back in the, and I'm going to say it as bold as possible, and raped your great-great-great-grandma. That's the only reason you're a Latino. Otherwise, you'd be an Aborigine speaking, Aztec or something, which is great.
But that's why they speak Spanish, from
but
Spain.
Instead here you're lauding the whole Latino culture, and it's really basically your great-great-grandma's rapist.
That's true.
I don't want to be that part of that. I want to part my real culture, which is Aztec. I don't want some rapist culture going on. So it's
That's true, huh?
Yeah, if you think about it.
And then not only that, but you're right. Like we would have Aztec religion beliefs instead of
Aztec,
Catholic
Mayan,
or Christian.
Inca, all that stuff. You wouldn't have the only reason you're Latino is because somebody did that to your ancestors. And I think if it happened nowadays, let's say if somebody raped somebody's mom and you were born and blah, 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 the mom would probably not even say anything about the dad, but the kid definitely wouldn't say, hey, I want to be just like dad. Dad. You wouldn't do that. You'd say, no, I hate that asshole. You want to be more like mom. So it's kind of interesting that there's all this push for Latino this, Latino that, when really basically the conquistadors were awful dumbasses that went over and conquered everybody.
And now we have their language, their beliefs. It's all been adopted.
Even their food, even some of their food, the Latinos are eating.
That's true.
So,
I never thought about it that way. That's pretty crazy.
Yeah, it is crazy. And I stopped to think about that a few years ago. I was like, is anybody gonna listen to me say that, or are they gonna get pissed off? I mean, I'm not trying to be rude, just a fact.
It's the truth. And the Spaniards, not only did they rape the women, but some of the men, they're like, hey, they killed a lot of men. I think they even killed babies, right?
Right.
They would like grab them by the ankles and swing them and bash their heads on a rock.
Exactly.
And many of their religious texts and stuff and documents, they were destroyed, because they brought their priests with them, and they're like, hey, we're going to convert everybody into this religion.
You're purging. It is genocide, basically. You're purging.
Exactly.
Replace it with your own. And apparently it's worked because, again, even present day with Latino this and Latino that and Latino, I would love to hear somebody say, forget this Latino shit. Let's get back to the Mayans, Incans, and Aztec.
Mm-hmm.
But who's brave enough to do that? I don't know if I've seen anybody haven't really explored much, but it'd be cool if somebody was like that.
Cut off somebody's heart. Sacrifice.
Maybe I don't want you to get back. Never mind. Just forget I said all that shit. Start over.
Chopping the heads off and throw it down the stairs.
Yeah, forget I said all that. Let's get back to that.
But you know what? That's that comes to questioning. Would that be right or wrong? If it's for God.
Well, again, we were talking about cannibals earlier. If that's what your belief is, then perhaps.
Yeah. And how you were talking about genocide, that's a good way to spread their religion. But that's what we do nowadays. I mean, we go to other countries and give them some freedom, you know what I mean? Basically.
Freedom enough to be chaotic.
Yeah. Yep. Seems like our government uses the same techniques from many, many years ago,
Mm-hmm. We'll make sure they're so chaotic, then we'll come in and we'll just kind of manage that, whereas before, when we did that whole thing with, I don't speak that in this book. When we get to the next book, sometime where overthrowing a government, I talk about the whole Arab Spring thing, which to me was bogus anyhow. It was just a way to get all the Muslims to overthrow their current government so that America and some of the Western powers could come in and insert their own form of government. So it wasn't really.
Oh, yeah. We've done that before, too, in other countries,
Yeah.
You insert little agents, and get the people rattled up, get some rebels together and train them.
Mm-hmm.
like ISIS and fucking Osama, and then we trained all them. You know?
CIA. We call it nation building, and then we turn around. The only reason I think they turned on him is because he got caught.
Uh-huh. And it's pretty sad, but I mean, that's the government for you, right? And what's crazy is that many people don't want to believe that. They're like, our government wouldn't do that. Well, do some research, you know?
Yeah, but that is, I can understand why. I mean, we're talking about the universe, we're talking about religions in general, now we're talking about government. It's all the same thing to me, what we're talking about here. It's all amount of control. And some people like control. Like, think of the dude that constantly goes to prison. At least when he goes to prison, you got 3 meals, what do they call it, three hots and a cot. But he's got that. He's got structure. Otherwise, when he's out free, he don't know what the hell to do with himself. There are a lot of people like that. They go through life, and if I didn't have my religion, I wouldn't know what to do. If I didn't have my government, I wouldn't know what to do. And that's the reason when I read that thing to you out of the Bible, where it says, we also know that law is made for the, not for the righteous, but for the lawbreakers, rebels. Law in general, or structure, is made for people who can't figure out what the hell to do with their own life. And that's when I talked to you a moment ago, it's like, what would you do? And what keeps you from killing somebody? Somebody, when you're walking down the street and somebody says, damn, Chewie, you dumbass. Why don't you beat the shit out of them? Because why do we do that? Is it just because they're going to throw us in jail, or because Chewie doesn't want to do that to him? I don't know. What is it?
Right. Is it because of I'm aware of my consequences, or, you know, what if there was no consequences? What if I could beat the shit out of them and not go to jail? You know,
hypothetically, would we do it? So that's the difference between a human or not a human. Because are we just one level removed from animals that would chew each other up if we had the chance, or what?
And I think it's just that part in your brain, because, you know, there's a part that's the survival, right? Because there's your brain, and every other part of your body is a tool to help your brain survive, right?
Exactly.
So we want to survive. So yeah, you know, when you see in the movies like post-apocalyptic, and there's like food rations, and they're like, no, this is mine, and they fight because they want to survive. But there's also that compassion part of you, right? And that's constantly fighting, you know. But like psychopaths, obviously, they wouldn't have trouble killing somebody, you know, if you ask me. But
right, because they're missing that compassion part you're talking about, the compassion element that's in them. Even if my worst enemy, I would. Sure, I don't like child molester who's molested and abused 15 kids. I might want to see him killed, but I wouldn't want to see him hung up on a string and people taking little razors and cutting him down while he's screaming and crying. Okay, just end it, you know, just end it.
Yes.
So that's the compassion part. But there's some people don't have that. Oh yeah, I love that. I get off on that. I'm gonna do that to that dude. That's the difference between humans and people who are animals, basically.
Yep. Like, you know, like you were saying, you know, somebody that did you or your family harm, you know, if it came down to it, you know, maybe you might blast them in the head if he really deserved it. But to torture them, that's a whole different thing, man. That's some
right.
And like those cartel videos.
What's that? Like
those cartel videos. Oh my god. Cold-blooded.
All the beheadings right there along the border.
Yeah.
Send a message though. It's supposed to send, don't mess with us because we'll come after you.
And it's pretty scary, you know, and that's the sad reality. That's, you know, people don't like it when I talk about that, or, you know, they're like, why are you talking about that? I'm like, because that's real life. That's what's happening right now.
So tying this back together, that's the reason why I think religions do exist, and so do governments and everything else, because people need structure. So the universe book is kind of dangerous because I'm basically saying, no, you don't need structure, but you're going to have to govern yourself. You're going to have to be a law to yourself. You're going to have to decide, do I beat the shit out of that guy, or is there something in me that says he isn't worth it, and not just because I'm going to jail, but just because he's not worth it and I don't want the chaos in my life. I don't want to have to deal with that. You know, it has to be something else deeper than just the law is going to throw you in jail. That's the reason why you don't commit crimes yourself.
That's true.
Because otherwise, I'd be robbing a bank and I'd be rich right now, and we wouldn't even be talking right now. I'd be out somewhere on the beach.
Private island.
Yeah.
Yeah, and in your book, you know how you were saying that, you know, some cultures, you know, some people really need religion because some cultures would fall apart. You know, some countries will fall apart without religion. You know, it'd just be chaos.
Yeah, they're not ready for it. They're not ready for any kind of freedom like that. It's kind of what happened to the Soviet Union. I don't know how old you are, but when the Soviet Union fell, it's going to be great because all these people are going to have freedom. Well, there's so many people that were used to the years and years of structure. You know, I'm going to go stand in line. I'm going to get my bread. I'm going to go home. I'm going to sweep the streets because that's my job. And I know what's going to do. And I don't have to pay any rent because I got free rent because I'm a socialist, blah, blah, blah. Well, when all that fell, they didn't know what the hell to do with themselves. And they wish they could have that back now.
That's true. So it's a double-edged sword right there, you know?
Exactly. So yeah, I would urge people to take a look at The Universe, the book, The Universe, and you can find it on anywhere on Amazon, The Universe of Every Religion and None. And it's on there as a paperback, or you can get it as a Kindle, and now you can even get it as an audiobook. I don't know if you got a chance to listen to the audiobook, but the guy I got to read it sounds really good.
Oh, he does.
I talk too fast and I have this weird accent. So, but he sounds really good.
And it's a great read. I highly recommend it. Like I said, it's mind-blowing.
Excellent. Maybe you'll translate it into Spanish for me, or Mayan.
Oh, maybe I will.
If you go back to roots and get to Mayan, you can put the first Mayan book there called The Universe.
I'll go spread the word, bro. I'll
yeah,
go
we
to
even
the jungles.
We even put your picture in the back right there.
Hell yeah, man. Well, hey, man, it's been great talking to you, and looking forward to having you on again. Maybe talk about another book.
Perfect.
Cool, man. Well, yep.
You're the man.
And, so they could get your books pretty much anywhere?
On Amazon, probably the first place you want to look, Amazon, or you could even go to the website, which is mine. I don't care if you go there or Amazon. Mine's rodericke.com. And then you can either go find it right there. You can put /universe and take you right to all the links.
So everybody listening right now, if this sounds very interesting to you, which it probably does, that's why you're listening, check out that book, man. I highly recommend it.
All right. Perfectly. Don't try to kill me or anything. Remember, you guys.
Oh, no. He's not a cult leader, guys. He's a good guy.
I don't own any robes, and I don't even like, so you're good with that.
Cool, man. Well, thank you for being on.
Thank you much.
Okay, you have a good one. Bye.
You too. Bye.
Hey, thanks for tuning in for another episode of Screaming Chewy Show. See you next time. Yeah.